I'm going to run a presentation in about 20 minutes. I'm going to start with a small video clip that will, I think, paint a picture fairly well on why a mobile check-in, mobile key, and mobile checkout compiled with other services is a very good thing for the hospitality industry. And before starting the video clip, I could actually also mention that this hotel chain, which is owned by R. Hansen, which is the dominant hotel company in the Copenhagen area, is one of our customers. So we just recently signed an agreement for the new flagship hotel, Steelhouse, which is under construction and supposed to go live in June. And they are then using our technology, and then the plan is to roll it out further on all the establishments. So if you could please start the video clip.
For hundreds of years, people have been standing in line to check into hotels, but the world is changing. How great would it be if you could check into hotels with your mobile phone? Over 50% of all hotel reservations are today booked via smartphones. The hotel industry is developing, and several smart digital solutions have emerged. Today, it's common practice to check into flights using a smartphone. Now, it's the hotel industry's turn. Guests don't want to queue, checkout takes too long, and customer satisfaction deteriorates. So we asked ourselves, how can you improve the hotel experience with smart mobile key services? Let us introduce Zaplox. Zaplox is the market leader in the mobile key service industry. Zaplox revolutionizes the hotel experience from check-in, check-out to using mobile keys. Today, hotels are replacing old hotel locks with modern locks that can be opened via smartphones. On average, hotels change locks every 7 years. Already, some world-leading hotel chains have introduced mobile keys, and the industry predicts that within 5 years, the majority of the world's hotels will have mobile keys. And mobile check-in and check-out at hotels will be second to none. Mobile key solutions are the future. Start a new journey with Zaplox today, the leading provider of advanced mobile key services to the global hotel market since 2010.
Here comes the tricky part. It's supposed to be a PowerPoint slide. Here it is. Okay. So Zaplox, that was founded in 2010, is today focusing on hospitality. And hospitality is hotels and holiday dwellings. So it can also be stretched to student housing and so forth. When we did start the company, we were very early and we tried different kind of verticals. So we tried on office and office, unmanned remote properties like technology, locations like telecom masts, etc., and decided to focus on the hospitality because we thought that were the segment with the strongest maturity and the need for mobile keys. And mobile keys is very good if you have many people want to access the same door, not at the same time. So there's a high rotation of the holder of the key, which is typically what is happening in a hotel. Why I mentioned this initially is that we are totally focused on hospitality because we don't think we can be a global leader unless we focus. But the platform that we have made is applicable in other verticals as well. We started very early, actually almost entirely when we started, we got our first customer, which is SkiStar. And SkiStar is a ski resort operator, active in the Nordics, mainly in Norway and Sweden, now is also in Austria. And they run 6,500 apartments and cabins. And they did a study where they found out the guests were the most unhappy when they arrived and when they left. And in between, they were quite pleased with the stay. And the reason for the unhappiness was that you had to go to a certain location to check in after driving quite a distance, because it's a bit north, halfway of Sweden, where they start to have the locations, and then to check in, and the same procedure when you check out, and not much value creation in struggling to get a key in a queue in front of a front desk. We are based in Lund, just across the strait here. We have a company since a year and a half in North America. We have 7 customers up and running on the system. We have way over 1 million guest nights on the system. So it's a proven system, even if it's not in a very large scale yet. And we have very good current owners which will stay on the company after the IPO. We focus quite heavily on getting a good technical team in place, because when you build a platform company like ours, unless you have a good technical team in place, you will not be able to attract more good people. It's peers seek for peers. So that was important for us. My own background is that I was a co-founder of a company called Smart Safety, which registered almost all the bikes in the Nordics, including Denmark. And we took the company from 0 to 6 million customers. And then we sold it to Falk, which is based here in Copenhagen. And I went on to Securitas, which is another security company. And I was heading the marketing and business development for Europe in 6 years, based in Brussels. And then I got the opportunity to come to Sweden and take care of Zaplox and take it international. We've been trying to build a team with people from the hospitality industry, coupled with good technical understanding. We didn't want to take only from the hospitality industry, because then you get only what they already have. And we didn't want to bring in engineers from outside the industry, because then they don't understand the specifics of the industry. So we do that kind of mix. So a good, strong team to build on. Our strategy is basically to offer cost-saving and revenue-driving services, and I will explain more in detail what that means. And we try to use technology to really improve the guest experience of being a guest at a hotel. Basically, we provide 2 sets of value. One is a much better way to distribute the key. So you don't have to hand it over physically, which is the most common practice still today. And that has been since way before Jesus was born. You're handling a key. It can be a plastic card, but it's still a physical key. With our solution, your key ends up in your smartphone. Another part is a better way of communicating with the guest. I think we all have experienced reading the poster in the elevator about the menu, which has not been updated for quite some time. You go up to the room, there is this guest folder with some information, which is rarely updated. And it's quite cumbersome for the hotel to keep it updated, because you have 150, 200 rooms and you need to update this folder manually. And it's still printing paper and putting it in a folder. So there is a good potential for improved efficiency. So the main features we have is the mobile key, the check-in and check-out, because with only the mobile key, you still need to go to the front desk. But if you have check-in and check-out on mobile key, you can choose, do I want to interact with the front desk or do I want to go straight to my room? The booking and offers is extremely important, because a lot of hotels are very keen on getting the hotel guests to book directly to the booking engine on their website. And the reason for that is due to commissions that they have to pay to other so-called OTAs, online travel agencies, which are very successful but don't work for free. And then finally payment, because you can't check out unless you have payment. So what is the benefits with these kind of features? Well, first of all, the guest saves time. You can go straight to the room. You don't have to queue up to get the key. It drives revenue because the hotel can communicate with the guest, right offer at the right time. And a typical guest journey is that you book, you get a pre-stay message telling a little bit about the hotel and the surroundings. And then a very common issue for a hotel is that they have a lot of the best rooms unbooked. And you don't want to put them on sale until the last minute. But with our platform, the hotel can look in and say, okay, I have 28 of my best rooms. They are not booked. They're not going to become booked because no one is just going to drop in from the street. So I'm going to push a message either to all the guests or the top tier in my loyalty program saying, don't you deserve an upgrade? Well, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when I went up 5 o'clock to take the Red Eye Express, having business meeting, I think I deserve an upgrade. So I click and I see a very tempting image of the room. And I say, well, 200 Danish, well, that's worth it. Click. And that goes straight to the bottom line for the hotel. And the cost is almost entirely the same. Maybe a little bit more cleaning if it's a huge room. Otherwise, it's just the same. And most hotels have a restaurant, and you need to communicate with the guest in a sensible way to drive traffic into the restaurant, because that's very much a fixed cost. So whether it's half booked or fully booked makes a huge difference in the profitability of the restaurant. To do that, to have such a system, we need to interact. And when we started in 2010, there was no locks that you could communicate with a smartphone. And we talked to the lock industry, and they were not overly excited in the beginning. They thought we were a little bit of pain because we thought about mobile keys. And yeah. Anyhow, long story short, they got it, and now all the major lock manufacturers in the hospitality sector have what is called Bluetooth Low Energy enabled locks. It means that the standard that we picked in 2010 is the standard today to communicate with a lock. You can also do with NFC. The problem with NFC, near-field communication, is that Apple has not released that functionality. It is from Model 6 and onwards, but not possible to access, except for Apple Pay and a few others. These three, Assa Abloy, Dormakaba, Salto, have about 75% of all the hotels globally, which is another good reason for us to choose the hospitality, because it's a global vertical. A hotel in Copenhagen and Shanghai works the same. Checking in, checking out, and eating and drinking in between, and sleeping, hopefully. Or maybe I should just also mention that we have the main ones, which are these three, and then we have a couple of local champions which are strong in Europe and Middle East. But the top three ones, the Assa, Dharma, and Kaba, are the true global players. Then a hotel needs a PMS system. It stands for Property Management System. It is the system that you need to run a hotel. It tells you what rooms are booked, how many nights have that guest stayed, how much did that guest use the minibar, the restaurant, garage, etc. The biggest player there is Oracle, that bought another American company called Micros, and they have more than 50% market share. And then we have a few others, and we are planning to add a few more PMS systems so that we also reach about 75% of the global number of hotels. Our platform is basically built up on a back end which is clouded. What the guest is interacting with is either our mobile key framework, and a mobile key framework is a structure, a skeleton basically, which can then be dressed on with the look and feel and content of the hotel, so that their app can be their app with, as a guest you would not understand that it's another company providing the app for the hotel. And we have invested in building the system in such a way, because then we can customize it to every hotel chain that is a customer of ours. Some hotels already have an app, and they are very happy with their app, and we don't want them to abort that. So for that we have developed an SDK, which is a way of taking a subset of our platform, integrating it into their app so they can continue to use their app. In particular, mid and large size hotel chains have their own app, but not all, but most of them. And then we have the lock systems, which I spoke about, and then the PMS system. And finally, which is rather important, we are not an app company, we're a platform company. We don't want to be involved in the everyday upgrades and changes of the look and feel and content of the hotel app. So we have made a platform including a control panel, so the hotel themselves can change the image, the content, just like you would update a website with a CMS, content management system. So that's really important. And there is basically 2 dashboards in the control panel. One for the operations that are interested in the performance of the door opening. Is all doors opening? Is a battery going low or whatever? And the other one is the sales and marketing dashboard, which is much more into how many have clicked on the restaurant offer, how many have chosen to upgrade, how many took on our spa offer, was spa offer A or B the most successful one. And it's normally 2 different roles in the hotel. It's the operation manager and it's the revenue manager that would look into these 2 different dashboards. So how is the return on investment? Well, first of all, we charge a fee, and there's sometimes also a small fee from some of the lock providers for providing this system. So they have a negative result initially, and then you save by, you don't need as many plastic cards. I should mention that our system works perfectly in parallel with a traditional system, because not everyone has a smartphone, not everyone wants to use it. And it's also great that there is a backup system that we can always lean towards if something happens. Then, obviously, you need less staff, and you particularly need less staff at the front desk at the peak hours, which is in the morning when people check out, and in the evening when they check in. And that's quite cumbersome, because it's hard to find people that like to work 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening and not in between. And in Northern Europe, it's very hard. In some other areas in the world, it's easier. But it's not as easy to find good front desk people as you might think, because you need to have a good social skill, and it's a stressful work because with a queue in front of them. So you could potentially recruit other people, and you can use the staff for other more revenue generating services. And then the fun starts, because basically here you're about to break even a little bit better. So if you have a hotel with a room rate of 200 euros for one night, and you can get one of the nights booked directly to the hotel's booking engine, then the commission that they normally would have to pay to an online travel agency is about 20%. So that's about 40 euros. So one night a month is improved margin of 14 euro. Room upgrade, 20 euro. Restaurant, spa, etc. So it's you have to be very passive not to turn this into a good profit center. And we monitor this, so we take care of our customers. If we see a customer that is not performing so well, we'll offer them some advice and say, well, you could use your service like this and that, because it's important for us to be a profit center. That's links into our business model. And the business model is we have a fairly low initial fee, and then we have a subscription fee, which is based on the room and month. And we like to have it that way because it pushes us to constantly be on our toes to upgrade the system, make sure that the guests are using the system. Because if they have a good modern system that they're using, we are a profit center for them, and then they will stay as a customer. And I'm fairly well trained on that business model, because that's what I did for 12 years with Smart Safety. That's what I did for 6 years with Securitas. So if you take good care of the customer, they will stay with you, and you get a very, very good profitability when you have built the portfolio. This is a few of our customers. I won't go into detail, but maybe I should mention a little bit about maybe the leading partner in the hospitality industry, which is called Expedia. There is another one called Priceline, but I think this is probably the largest one. They are fairly big. I mean, they have a $68 billion turnover. 7.7 is their own revenue. The 68 billion is the bookings. 227 million guest nights a year. They have approached us and chosen our platform to integrate mobile key into some of their brands, and they're starting with a brand called Hotel.com. And obviously, this is helping us, because if anyone is questioning, is your platform any good? not everyone loves the OTAs, but everyone respects their ability to build a great platform. So it's a great benefit for us to have been selected by them for this. And what we're doing with them now is that we are setting up 10 hotels in Europe and North America, half-half. It's San Francisco, New York, London, Copenhagen, Stockholm, and then running a pilot for a couple of months and then preparing for a scale-up. And they have 278,000 hotels, so there's plenty to take care of there. Our sales projection is, I would say, most interesting is the number of doors, and obviously, of course, the result. And why is the result so good after a couple of years? Well, then we've been building on the platform and the portfolio, and the cost is basically to get the customer in. Once you have it, the platform take care of it. And you can see that when we move on to the organization, we need a fairly small organization to run the ship. We're going to be above -30 at the turning point, which is mid-2018. Current organization is actually a little bit bigger because we added 2-3 people since I made this slide, so need to be updated. We're focusing on building more people over here in the sales, because since this is picking up, we need to address the market more. So we're now building a complete team in US and doing the same with Europe. So this is how we see in Q3 our organization. The current owners are, I don't know if they're well known on this side of the strait, but LMK was one of the main owners of Axis network cameras that was sold to Canon for 23 billion SEK. They were owning that for 18 or 20 years, something like that. Then Industrifonden is a Swedish evergreen that invest in small companies or big companies when they're small. I think that's the tagline, with international potential. And then Manke Beteiligung is a very substantial German industrial family. And then the staff and the board for the rest. I could maybe mention that we have been quite successful so far. We just started this tour, the roadshow, and the majority in what we are looking for has already been, I don't know the correct English word, but it's they have agreed to subscribe to the majority of the amount already. So that's about it. Oh no, sorry. So what we want to use the money for? Well, the most important is to build a strong organization in the US, because we've been having a small organization there and it doesn't really work. But we got enough traction to say, okay, yes, we can also be successful in the US, but we need to have boots on the ground and a stronger team. And initially we're going to build one now on the East Coast, and people are hired and more people are on the way in. I myself spend a lot of time in US because I think that's the most important market for us. Then, of course, accelerating the commercial benefits for the customer, because that's how we become a profit center. And the rest you can see yourself. So that's it. I'm maybe running a little bit late, but I started late as well, so I'll probably have a few minutes extra for questions.
We have a few minutes for questions. Take a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Please correct me if I missed something. I have a very specific question. If the hotel I'm staying in is using your technology, what happens if my phone runs out of battery?
Well, then you have to go down to the front desk. You have to get the traditional card, because with no juice in your phone, it doesn't work. We were actually concerned about this because, this will happen. Yes, it does happen, but extremely rarely, because most people are more keen on having their phone with them and live than the wallet. So And we also got the question about security. What about if the phone gets stolen? Well, most people have a password, and now you get more and more of biometrics with your fingerprint and so forth. While the traditional card you get in this nice little paper envelope, and obviously no one in this room would ever dream of sitting in a bar and leaving that little envelope in the bar and forgetting about it. But other people actually do that. So our system is safer.
And you do believe you have evidence that the market is moving in that direction?
Yes, I have extremely good evidence. I mean, it has started in the US with some of the strong big brands. And what we do, we basically focus on I would say not the top 10 yet, but we might be in that segment later on, but it's below top 10. So one of our customers is Melia, which is number 17 globally. We're about 100,000 hotels. And for instance, Hilton have now 700 hotels in US with mobile keys. Before the end of Q2, all the hotels in UK by Hilton have mobile keys. So this is putting a lot of pressure on the mid-size and smaller chains, which don't have the capability to do this internally. So the market is taking off, yes, for sure.
I think you covered the most aspects. Do we have a question from the audience? We have time for one. Up here.
How does the system work in case of electricity cut out or fire, and who are your competitors?
Okay, so first of all, if there's a fire or a shortcut, it still works because the locks of a hotel is almost always battery driven. And once you have downloaded the key in the phone, which you don't need any electricity, but you need a connectivity. But once it's in the phone, and you get that when you check in, you don't need anything else. You can still open the door. What is important to say is you can always exit the hotel room because the locks are made in such a way that even if there is a power cut, you can always just press the handle and run out of the room. It's due to fire regulation. The competition has been too weak so far, and it may sound strange, but for us it would be better to have more competitors helping us building the market because we started early. I wouldn't say too early, but maybe too early in one way. So for quite some time we were alone, and now we're starting to see some competition. But most competitors that we have are either platform companies doing something else and then saying, yeah, we can do mobile keys as well. And some of them are okay and some are not so great. And then we have app companies that say, oh, mobile keys, no problem. But then they end up with the integration with the log system and PMS systems. And actually this Spanish chain that I told you about, number 17 globally, they picked their local app supplier to do their work, but then they came back and said, well, it didn't really work out. So we would like to use your SDK and get our service integrated in our current app.
And your IPO is coming up. I know you're working on a project here in Copenhagen as well, a new hotel coming up, Stillhouse.
Yeah. That's really what makes us really happy because obviously it's nice not to only have customers in North America and far away, but actually close by. So App Hansen, which is the strongest company in the hotel industry in Copenhagen, I think they have about 20-25% of the hotel rooms, have a new hotel under construction to be live in June, and they have chosen our solution. And this hotel, for instance, is in the same group. And they have the right locks, so we could very easily have this active as well. And that's normally how it starts. We get one hotel, and then we show them what we can do, and then there is no more fixed cost, so they can just add more hotels without too much of a hassle.
Best of luck, Magnus. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for inviting me.
Friberg.